A1. 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 Yeah. Truly. Cooler and I'm flyer too. Jam. Cooler and I'm flyer too.
Welcome back to A1 Forever Presents. Dr. Moore here to fill your fantasy prescriptions for your fantasy lineups. You guys, y'all should know what time it is. Start 'em and sit 'em time. So let's just jump right in it, shall we? Let's go ahead and start with these Texans and the Dolphins. Now, the Texans do have a pretty good secondary, but honestly, it shouldn't matter with Tua Tagovailoa under the center. You know, with those weapons that he has weapons all over the board. And before the bye week, they pretty much showed an example of that, you know, spreading the ball around. In his last three games, Tua has 75 completions with nearly 1,000 yards, 969 to be exact. The most important thing here is no picks, man. That's love right there. That is real love, y'all, because we already know interceptions and fumbles are very detrimental to your fantasy points. I am starting Tua this week against the Texans, and really you can start his weapons as well. As for the Texans, well, they need a lot of help, and a fresh J.J. Watt, Arian Foster, nor Andre Johnson is coming through that door. With that being said, I would sit everyone on the Texans except for running back Damian Pierce in this game because, I mean, nobody else you can really trust on the Texans and the Dolphins. I mean, they have given up 12 rushing touchdowns this year. So that's why you play Pierce. All right. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Ah, man, I love the outside air, man. Doing this podcast right here on the patio. It's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful. Not too cold or anything. Moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. Next, we have the Bengals versus the Texans. If your name is not Derrick Henry, or if you're not going to flex Treylon Burke, please have a seat this week. Everybody on the Titans. The Bengals, you got to keep your eye out because I know Joe Mixon, he was ruled out with the concussion. Jamar Chase is a game time decision. We already know what the healthy Chase brings to the Bengals offense. So you need to just keep your eye out for Chase because you may can slide him in. I'm pretty sure they're not going to play him unless he is healthy enough to go. So, you know, and start Joe Burrow as well. The Titans have given up over 19 fantasy points per game to QBs. And I can see Joe Burrow, especially if he has Jamar Chase, exceeding those totals. All right. We're going to keep this right on moving, man. We're covering all the games here. Going to go to these Broncos versus Panthers, folks. The matchup that you'll love to hate from a fantasy perspective, honestly. I would envision that Carolina would use a run approach with Sam Darnold coming in. The Broncos, they're only allowing 27 yards per game to receivers, honestly. So I say start Deontay Foreman here. And shoot, you can really sit the rest. From the Broncos sideline, it's hard to tell you guys to start Russell Wilson this week. It's a favorable matchup and everything. But he hasn't been a favorable quarterback, y'all. I mean, not for your lineup. This is a real boom or bust matchup and one of the most risky in my eyes, really. If you want to play Wilson or if you have him and you want to play him or any of his receivers, then I understand. If you have better options, though, you really should use them. Don't hold back on this matchup. Moving forward, let's get it, keep it moving. We have the Bears versus the Jets. This is going to be the run bowl, whether Justin Field plays or not, y'all. I know he's nursing a shoulder injury. And I expect a lot of David Montgomery if Fields can't go. I would start David Montgomery anyway, just because, no Herbert to take snaps away from him. I'm sitting Mooney, as you guys have heard about a guy on the Jets defense named Sauce Gardner, I'm sure. So I expect him to be, following and trailing behind Mooney. And the Jets offense, I mean, it will look different because I believe Mike White is starting. So the Jets offense are looking to put up, a better production total. And the Bears defense will give you an opportunity. You just got to make sure you take them when they give them to you. So Garrett Wilson or Michael Carter wouldn't be a bad flex option here to choose in this matchup. I'm gonna give you a quick sleeper to possibly the Jets defense this week. I will actually be take I guess it's a small risk because the Jets defense haven't been terrible depending on the matchup. So it's not just a terrible play. I'm gonna try the Jets defense out myself. And I consider them a sleeper this week. We're going to move forward and we're going to my home team, the Atlanta Falcons, on the road against the Washington Commanders. Now, we all know the Falcons took a huge loss by losing tight end Kyle Pitts from the offense. In this matchup, I would go with wide receiver Drake London as a flex option. He is the number one, and I do understand it's kind of risky because the Commanders are probably going to try to take Drake away. But the Commanders, they give up the fifth fewest fantasy points to running backs, though. Okay, so it's hard to play Tyler Algiers, Cordero Patterson, and Caleb Huntley. It's hard to play them and expect a big production when Washington has been pretty consistent as far as run defense. And also with Mariota's quarterback production, there's so many risky flags here, guys. I'm not sure if your lineup can stand it, truly. The Commanders, their best start would be Terry McLaurin, as the Falcons secondary have allowed the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. This means a flex option here for Curtis Samuel as well. You can put him in the flex if you have that option, if you need somebody. I mean, nobody's really on bye this week. I don't believe no teams are on bye. I think everyone is playing. So you should have different options. But if you need to, if you're in a deeper league, Curtis Samuel in this matchup is a good one if you don't have Scary Terry. All right. Let's keep it going, family. On to the Browns versus Bucks matchup. Now, the Buccaneers, they're coming off bye week. Again, I remember they just had a win against the Seahawks in Germany. So in this matchup, I understand that the Buccaneers have been pretty stout against the run, but despite the bad matchup, you have to start Nick Chubb. I mean, he's a must start week in and week out. I mean, that's just what it is. Now, you could flex option or possibly wide receiver two at best, Amari Cooper. It's Peoples Jones. If you guys have him and like you have to start him, okay, go ahead. I understand. I mean, you got to play who you can play, and I'm not high on him this week. I'm more toward Amani Cooper, but I definitely understand. Like I said, if you have to play Peoples Jones, he's just not one of my favorites. Now, Leonard Fournette is battling injury, so running back Rachaad White is a flex option here if needed. Start the Bucks wide receiving core, especially Godwin and Evans. With no teams on bye, like I said, you can also find another quarterback instead of Tom Brady, as we need at least another game or two of good production before I'll say Brady is back, especially for your fantasy lineups. Okay. Got a few more here, y'all. We're moving along pretty good. We have the Ravens and the Jaguars. I would sit Trevor Lawrence as the Ravens defense has been pretty strong the past couple of weeks, causing turnovers, more turnovers compared to touchdowns. I believe they have like a 2-to-3 ratio, if I believe I read that correctly. The last 3 or 4 weeks. I still would probably flex Christian Kirk just because he's been getting sneaky scores over the past couple of weeks when soon you think nothing's going to happen. Boom. Next thing you know, Christian Kirk. So I can't just neglect that trend on what's been going on when I've been seeing it with my own eyes. So I'll say flex Christian Kirk. Lamar Jackson, even though he has a hip issue, if he's on the field, you got to start him. You got to start him. I would start Mark Andrews this game as well. The Jaguars are 23rd against fantasy quarterbacks, so I expect a nice day. I'm pretty sure he will find Andrews, and I'm sure he'll find other weapons. And then I expect LJ to take off, get you some fantasy points. Make sure you start him. Next, we have the Seahawks and the Raiders. Raiders. Only Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs are the ones to start here. The Seahawks defense hasn't necessarily been pushovers the past few weeks, and they've been playing well, actually. The Geno Smith show will be active for this game, so start him against those Raiders, who is the bottom of the barrel on pressing quarterbacks in the pocket, honestly. Kenneth Walker, he should be back, as in back for fantasy production. So he's another option that you can start as he's been emerging as a real playmaker. And we're getting close to the end, family. We're getting close to the end, A1 family. Next, we have the Chargers and the Cardinals that I want to speak on. Man, I really like Justin Herbert in this matchup, so please start him. The Cardinals, they give up at least 20 points per game to quarterbacks. Herbert has weapons, maybe not all of them. It's a possibility Keenan Allen may be back. I know Mike Williams has been trending up. Not sure what they're going to do just yet. But they also have quality in Joshua Palmer, DeAndre Carter. Of course, Austin Eckler he's going to be back there being dynamic. So all those guys, are considered are considerable starts for this game. James Conner for the Cardinals has been strong, and I would consider starting him in this game. He has been finding the end zone the past few weeks, and it's a possibility with Kyler coming back. He could see more production as well. Speaking of Kyler, I'm sitting him, but I'm flexing D-Hop. I know it seems like it doesn't make any sense, but we're not necessarily sure what Kyler is going to do from a production standpoint. But we do know that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out there pretty much kind of by himself. I didn't get a chance to see if Zach Ertz is going to be back for this particular game, but if he's not, they're already missing Rondale Moore. And it's a possibility that if he even plays, that Hollywood Brown would probably be on limited snaps. Outside of those guys, as in DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner, Justin Herbert and his weapons, I would sit everyone else. No other starters. All right, we're going to go on to the 49ers versus the Saints, and I'm going to tell you to start Chris Olave. He's been productive. Saints or not, he has definitely been productive from a fantasy perspective. I believe he's averaging like 14.1 yards per catch right now, and he's getting in the end zone. I expect extra attention on Juwan Johnson because he's been a touchdown machine lately for these Saints. You still got to flex Alvin Kamara or start him, however you want to do it. Just get him in your lineup as he's still most of the offense. I understand he's been very lackluster, but you can't deny that he is the starter. You can't deny that, he is a focal point of the Saints offense, especially with Andy Dalton as quarterback. So, 49ers, if the starters are healthy, start them. including Jimmy G. It's a good matchup for the 49ers on both sides. So Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. I know he's questionable with the hamstring. Keep your eye out on that. But if he's healthy, give Debo a run. Like I said, Jimmy G. There's a few other players, man. You can really get down with the 49ers this week. You should be able to. Not saying that they're going to run all the way over the Saints. I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to have some pushback, but the Saints haven't been very good, and the 49ers are definitely trying to catch their stride heading toward the playoffs and trying to catch it with the Seahawks as well for the division. So next, we're going to move on. We have 3 games, guys. 3 games left. Just hang in there with me. And thank you if you've been here the whole time, listening to these fantasy tips that I have for the lineup. Some guys, I understand that they may have their lineups already set, but maybe this right here will lean you in the right direction if you're on the fence about something. And I'm just always looking to try to help you guys and myself, of course. I don't do it, what I'm saying, and not try to take my own advice if I possibly can, but I'd really do this for you guys, and I'm really pleased that, I'm still getting positive responses from this, and I'm going to continue as long as you guys, want this, and don't be afraid to, shoot some opinions like, hey, man, won't you do this? Or can you talk about that? Different stuff like that from a doctor fantasy perspective. Let's get into the Rams and Chiefs here, y'all. Rams and Chiefs. I'm sitting everyone on the Rams. I'm not saying the Rams won't score, but I'm sitting everyone on the Rams. Everyone. I mean, shoot. The guy that was a start week in and week out is hurt anyway in Cooper Kupp. And Kansas City should smell blood in the water. I'm starting the usual suspects on Kansas City, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and it should be a very productive day for them. Valdez-Scantling should have some attention in the passing game. I believe Kadarius Toney still dealing with the hamstring as he went out early last game. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm pretty sure he's still in concussion protocol. Not sure he's ready yet. So, it's still Mahomes is still going to have some weapons. He'll find a way to get you some fantasy points. So, go ahead and start him against, like I said, the Rams in this matchup. Sunday Night Football, Packers versus Eagles. I know Aaron Rodgers is dealing with the injury to his hand. So, Aaron Jones, if he's healthy, he's a must start. And in deeper leagues, you can actually even flex AJ Dillon. I know questionable is the tag that is attached to Aaron Jones right now. I believe he will start, but even if he didn't, like I said, that means AJ Dillon. Eagles, their business as usual. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, as the Packers are 29th against the run. I'm not saying sit the Eagles wide receivers. I'll probably just say flex them. It's getting closer to the playoffs. You need production. You need big games. You need consistent production. At least maybe what I want to say anywhere from 13 to maybe 16 points from your wide receiver. So I'm not saying, like I said, that the Eagles are unable to do this. It's just been a few weeks since they really just had a really booming game from both of them, or either one of them. So moving on to this last game. We have made it to the last game. It is Steelers versus the Colts. This is a good fantasy matchup, really, for both sides, honestly. Jonathan Taylor, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman. I can start all those guys. So if you have any one of them, don't be afraid to start them. I'm going to sit George Pickens, and it's not his fault. I just need to see a little bit more from Kenny Pickett as a signal caller and getting Pickens the ball a little bit more. I know Pittsburgh has tried to get creative with him, have him rushing the ball. He was caught a touchdown or two, so, they know that he's a playmaker. They just need to use him more, and it's Kenny Pickett's responsibility to do that. However, Pat Fairmouth is a starter, so don't sleep on him. Or Najee Harris. I do understand that the ground game for the Colts defense has been stout as well. But I'm pretty sure, they can pass the Najee out the backfield, toss it to him, sweep it to him. So I still believe that Najee will have maybe at least 8 to 12 points, maybe. It'd be better if he had a touchdown and some yards, too. But I'm feeling more confident about Fairmouth and Fryer Mook and everything. I'm feeling more confident about him. I think he's a fantasy starting tight end week in and week out now. And especially when he is healthy. So serviceable, just like Najee, possibly around the goal line. Keep in mind, like I said, the Colts have given up the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs this season. So you got to be mindful of exactly what you're going to do when it comes to starting Najee Harris. If you have anyone else, like I said, no bye weeks, go ahead and do that. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so very much. Peace and blessings to you all. If you've made it through this, if you stayed the whole time, listen to it, hopefully picked up some tips, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about A1 Forever Sports. Diligently working hard. Really want to do more for the channel, really going to do more for the channel. I'm coming up with different ideas. I'm reaching out to people, trying to get them on the channel and everything. Every day is a countless grind. And I really appreciate you guys, seriously. Until next time, so this has been Dr. Moore, filling your fantasy prescriptions for your fantasy lineups. Peace and blessings to you all. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. My heart and my prayers go out to all the victims of the Walmart shootings and just victims, just period. That's the ones that we don't even know about that's going on. The shootings that we don't know about that's not being broadcast. The people who are, losing their lives. My heart goes out to everyone. And please be safe out there, guys. You have one life. Please protect it. Be generational, because there's always time to be. And until next time, A1 Forever Sports, Dr. Moore, fantasy prescriptions for your fantasy lineup. And we will holler at you next time. Thank you again.
A1. Yeah, truly. Cooler and I'm flyer too. Jam. Cooler